Entrepreneurs require excellent game-changing ideas and skills to accomplish a leadership role. Talking Point connects with three promising personalities who have set the trend as entrepreneurs here in Sri Lanka. May I firstly introduce Adhisha, Dahanayake, founder and director of Double XL, and we've also got Mr. Nadeem Rajabdeen, director and CEO of Food Studio, and also Mr. Naveed, Cader, chairman of Scope Cinema. Welcome all of you to Talking Point.
Thank you for having us.
This is going to be a very interesting conversation because three powerful ideas with powerful visions. Let me inquire from Mr. Rajabdeen. Certain entrepreneurs tend to acquire a traditional theory and applies a new innovative spin to it. How do you see the new and the old approaches to entrepreneurship as a whole?
I think in terms of traditional and modern theory, there's essentially every entrepreneur starts off with an idea and then fueled with passion. And more often than not, we don't really think about all the processes at this point. And it's about actually running with what you have, believing in it and starting it. It's thereafter that second stage where, traditionally, the foundation is where tradition is. Everything has values, and we need to have our goals, we have to have our plans, we need to strategize, build processes, and make sure it's consistent, because this journey is a long journey, and we need to evaluate it and monitor it every step of the way. So traditionally, yes, the foundation, we follow that approach, but in terms of modern, the spin on it that you ask is for us to stay relevant, keep connected with what's happening around, and if you relate it to our industry, we also need to take circumstance really seriously. There are things we have in our control, which is a micro environment. There are things that are not in our control, which is a macro environment, and that puts us in a circumstance which we cannot essentially benchmark any other country, any other entrepreneur. And COVID is a really good example, because I think every single leader and CEO or anyone, or any entrepreneur for that matter, was put in the same position on how to be resilient, relook at what we're doing, and how to buy time to kind of see where we can take our businesses forward. So in staying modern, I think it's very important to stay relevant, and there are many other things which we could go on to discuss in terms of being relative with digital and so on and so forth. So yes, use the traditional methods, but always be adaptable. That's the only way you can survive.
Adhisha, game-changing ideas and skills are certainly attributes of entrepreneurs. To reap the rewards, what sort of strategies should be in place according to your opinion?
Well, what I believe is every entrepreneur is a game changer, right? So, but if you're going forward, and also if you're looking for a long-term success, it's not enough to have only the game-changing idea, right? You have to have a visionary leadership, and also I believe you have to have right people, the right place, right? Because that's where we always struggling as a CEO. I do that. So and the other thing is after pandemic, what I've learned is you have to have strategic partnerships, collaborations. So what I want to explain when it comes to visionary leadership is sometimes in an organization, even though entrepreneur can have an idea and they know what they want to do, they know the direction, but the entire team, they don't know, right? Because we are at a team, you get people from different environment, different mindset. So how can you show them the bigger picture? So you have to have a visionary leadership, and also you have to have right people in place, a good team. You have to give them training and development. That is where most of the companies and organizations they don't give enough focus for training and development. So if they don't know what to do, how they can do that, right? So then you can't achieve what you want. So I think as a CEO and as a leader, you should give them the right approach, and also you should give them the right direction. So it's not only as you said, it's not only about game changing idea, but you have to have all these skills, like the strategies in place. And also, as I explained about strategic partnership, because as a entrepreneur, I went through a very tough time during the pandemic and also the crisis we had in Sri Lanka. During that period, I understood like how important to collaborate with other brands, especially local brands, because we were unable to import fabrics at that point, and also footwear to all these other accessories. So then I took that leap, and then I started like collaborating other people with other brands and other entrepreneurs, and then we somehow managed to get that the products, and we started moving on. So yeah, that's my explanation.
Mr. Cader, regardless of how a definition of entrepreneurship can be defined by anyone in the corporate world, it's certain that it is not easy. So how optimistic should be the approaches towards the mission of being successful?
Yeah, so to answer your question, the first thing I did was I Googled the definition of entrepreneurship. So on that it said entrepreneurship is defined by the most basic form of setting up a business with the hope of a financial risk being rewarded in the terms of profit. Then I also Googled the definition of success. It says the accomplishment of an aim or purpose. Like Adhisha said, in I think in the last 5 years what we've been through, yes, I think as entrepreneurs, we should be optimistic because we are very passionate in our visions on how to make things successful, how to make our business successful. But if you take a time like COVID, as the others also said, being optimistic is good, but I think that's where the team comes in also to give you a balance of being realistic, because optimism can take you so far, and it's good. It sends a very positive balance to the rest of the team members. But I think there are other aspects of things about what we should dedicate to a team in terms of purpose, why we do our business. That also, I think that should be given a lot more thought. I feel a lot of businesses in the recent past have done that, and a lot of entrepreneurs really understand the purpose of why they do their business. But I feel, entrepreneurship is, being optimistic is great, but we need to obviously analyze all the other sides of business in terms of financial, whatever, and take a cumulative decision as a team in going forward.
Let me throw this question at all three of you, and maybe I'll ask Nadeem first. How do you see when it comes to leadership in accomplishing a goal, and how leaders should be powerful when it comes to visions? What sort of perspectives do you think with regard to these modern leadership approaches?
I think there is a autocratic leadership approach, and I think today in the modern world it's more inclusive. More often than not, I think it's important that we also realize, I think everybody comes to that realization. A leader doesn't represent the organization, it's the entire team in itself. And I think we always tell our teams that everyone is a leader. We have something to learn from even the newest person in the system, which we actually discussed in the morning today, to all the way at the top, and to be able to have that mutual respect and not discount what anyone can bring to the table. So to having that cumulative inclusive leadership is something that's important, like Naveed just said, to be able to take decisions together, but be also being able to listen and hearing everyone out. We could, if not one person standing on a podium asking to go in that one direction, usually doesn't happen. You would much rather have everyone contribute and be included in it, and then it's better to go towards that same goal and direction. So I think,
coming from the apparel industry, what sort of a take do you have, Adhisha?
Well, I think as I explained again, it's about like your team, right? For me as an entrepreneur, all these past few years, I struggle with managing people, basically, right? Because, and also like the generation gap is there, right? So sometimes when they come to work, they come with very different mindsets, right? So how can you bring all this mindset to under one circle? It's very tough, right? So that's why when you have a visionary leadership, and when you, as I explained, when you respect each other's opinion and what they put into the table, then we can come up with a collective, set of mindset and ideas, and then we can achieve more as an organization.
Entertainment industry, how do you see a different kind of a vision, of course?
I think this is a very generic question.
Correct.
Irrespective of industry, I still think even in the entertainment industry, yes, all visionaries have the mindset to disrupt, to do something different. That's what entrepreneurship is about, to do something different, right? But again, it comes down to the team. It comes down to the support, it comes down to listening to other people, it comes down to managing expectations across the board. Because I think, like I said at the initial question, a cumulative mindset and a decision-making process, following a structured decision-making process, might be the best way to go forward in any industry, even entertainment.
In any sector, for that matter, true. Mr. Rajabdeen, business resilience and growth strategy transformations-based versatility is transparently noticed undoubtedly in entrepreneurs. How do entrepreneurs enhance this productivity by unlocking the potential?
When it comes to resilience, I think nobody can really plan for that, right? You just have to be again put in the circumstance and figure out how much resilience you have. Comes down to how you can communicate, shepherd everyone together, and try to take on those obstacles together. But at the same time, as leaders, keeping a straight face and saying we can get through it is something really important. And we as leaders also have our own escape points where we need to go and talk with probably other mentors to kind of give us that reassurance that if we stick to what we do best consistently and keep communicating and buy time, you build that sense of business resilience, right? I can only relate this term business resilience mostly due to, in the last 5 years, we're a new business, we're in food and beverage, we're a service industry. We have a social pandemic that causes social disruption that contributes directly to the running operation, right? You have other businesses, which logistics, where you could essentially try and move things around to people's houses. We depend on people coming out. Then we went through a stigma of should we be social? We cannot be social, we can eat in. And then there was a dynamic change into ordering in. So now we had to tap in coming out of that and believe that we will revert back to us being humans, are social people. We have to believe that, right? And so we work towards. Otherwise, we will believe that the shift is changing towards a very different lifestyle, which is not the case. And so in that circumstance, how we handle resilience is essentially kind of having the hope and faith and luck and all those factors as well. In terms of growth, so in terms of resilience, we always used to tell our teams that we are in the survival mentality. So we had to switch our survival game on. In that, it taught us how to manage, to gain more with less, to be smart about how we use our resources, how we manage our cash flow, and so on and so forth. Growth strategy is an exciting part. Now we want to go pretty much after being survival for 3 to 4 years. We have all these ideas investing in growth, but that has to come with a lot of planning and a lot of timelines to be considered on how we can manage. Because again, looking at our company 5 years ago, we had 50 people. Today we are 300 plus, and we got to keep reflecting and seeing where we started and where we are today, how we've changed. Does our team understand it? Are we in the same direction? And to constantly keep training them and understanding them to be ready for what we want now. What we decide in a boardroom or with our management teams doesn't necessarily translate to the bottom very frequently. So now we are making a very conscious effort to essentially keep ensuring that keeps going down so that we are all on the same page to move forward. So in terms of growth strategy and unlocking that potential, I think potential to be unlocked also is again a macro and a micro thing, right? We are facing situations and challenges where we as a country need to tighten our pockets. We have to deal with a lot of taxes. Disposable income is at its lowest. Utilities are its highest. So the only escape is to be able to do something that you can enjoy. And luckily for us, entertainment and food and beverage, and hopefully even a little bit of retail, is still the only extent our consumers can come to. So whilst keeping that in mind, we can only unlock our growth strategy and potential based on also how the macro situation moves forward. If we go ahead of the curve, we're going to carry a bigger load than what we expect. We're hoping for a good tourism season, which will add to us, which we've not had in the last couple of years. And in being mindful on the growth strategy, we need to be mindful of what's happening outside whilst what we can do inside. Because we can always go ahead of the curve because nothing goes according to plan. So we need to keep being adaptable.
Mr. Cader, how do you see the true value with regard to a digital transformation?
I see, in our industry, if you say so, I think I would break it down into verticals of our business. Because if you take the entertainment industry, we have a production vertical, we have an exhibition vertical, if you take cinema in general. And if you take film locations and things like that. So, in terms of digital transformation, there is an impact across the board. But if you see, primarily if you look at places like Hollywood where production is at its best, in terms of digital transformation, they've just taken it to another level. There was a recent Hollywood strike where one of the primary reasons for that was they were using AI to bring costs down where they don't have to have all these people, extras at the back. So that saves you salaries, that saves you a lot of film production costs, and obviously grows your profit margins as a whole. In terms of exhibition where Scope Cinemas is at the moment, traditionally when we used to run the Liberty way back in the 70s, you had celluloid at 70mm, then it dropped down to 35mm, and now it's digital, and now it's even laser. So now what we're hoping to do with at Havelock City is we're actually going with the latest tech. That also helps us bring our cost of operations down. We don't have to replace bulbs anymore. The technology has changed. 3D has evolved. We're trying to when we launched Colombo City Centre, we brought in new sound technologies in the sense of Dolby Atmos, which was a pretty good hit. And the next thing we're looking forward to is IMAX. So definitely technology has been impactful, and I think we should definitely promote it in every aspect, even from a customer service aspect of it, from manual ticketing processes to data-driven decision making. We're actually using technology to help us a lot. So I think overall the impact is positive. How fast we adapt is something that we constantly work on, because sometimes we also don't want to go too ahead of the curve, because we have to ensure that keeps us sustainable. It doesn't upset. Sometimes using too much, we don't want a Hollywood strike here. You know what I mean? So
True.
So we have to be mindful. We have to have a human element also in our process. But overall, I think we are adaptable. Our industry is adapting for sure. It's not adapted as fast as the banking and finance industry, but I think we're definitely heading the right way. So
gradually is increasing, and it's
gradually heading that way. Yeah.
right. We also do notice that the food and beverage industry is also embracing the digital platform. And how do you see that?
It's huge. Naveed and I recently went to a seminar held by Cinema and Life with the former chief business officer of Google, and he kind of enlightened us on how AI is going to change businesses. Before we come to AI, I'm taking in general, digital transformation is not something new. It's been happening. The apparel sector, I think one of the biggest efficiencies are through the right ERP system. So in the food and beverage, we want to be able to order smart. We need to be able to control our stock. We deal with a lot of wastage. And how do we deal with that? Because everything is automated. And now we have data. We've just come out of the 2 decades of data management. Whatever data we have, how do we utilize that to work on our ordering process and production processes and stuff like that. So data is huge, and now we're going one step further into the future where, I mean, before when we'd come in for a meeting, we'd analyze our data and look at how we make smart decisions. Now we could actually just come, have an extension of an AI where we can just ask the questions on the cuff and be like, listen, what do you think? What is the most selling thing? What do we need to change? And the information just will come to like that. And for us to make business decisions that much faster and to be at that time more real time for us is huge. That's efficiency at its best. We should always constantly, not with just this business, but every single department, whether it be human resource or even maintenance or whatever it may be, we need to always identify and see, without reinventing the wheel, what is out there that people are using in those departments. Are we using it? If not, what are we going to do to get there? That's important that we need to check it out.
Mr. Dahanayake, when it comes to entrepreneurs' requirement to have excellent organizational and people management skills to commence a venture from scratch, how should this be aligned to ensure success of a venture?
Well, yeah, that's kind of a hard question to answer because people management is, I think, that's the toughest job I'm handling right now, especially after the pandemic, because of people come to work like from very different mindsets. But for us, the thing is like we are into fashion industry, and also like I want my team to understand the psychology behind the brand, right? Because XXL is, it's not that we are selling clothes, because we are selling like their confidence basically, as in like we sell clothes for them to like, when you wear it, like you feel confident, right? So it's like, it's a lifestyle brand again, right? So I always try to train my team just to understand the purpose. But to be very honest, Sabrina, sometimes it's very, it's very hard because mindsets are not very, it's not, well, they understand the assignment, but when they start perform, the outcome is not as I expect, right? Because as an entrepreneur, we know our vision and we know our mission, right? And we know exactly what we want and we know our timelines, right? So to match with those timelines and to manage those people is very tough, right? But again, as a leader, you have to have certain qualities also, and then you have to understand they are also coming from different backgrounds, different cultures, different mindsets, different capacities. So that's why, like when we do our recruitments, I always tell my HR team, it's not about the skill and the drill, it's about the mindset and how they, it's about the mindset, because skill and the drill, of course, you can teach them, right? Because our training period, like when it comes to a designer, normally like other fashion brands, I don't know, but XXL, it take like 2 years, because I sit with them like one by one. I talk to them, I teach them, because the styles to, patterns to, like, what we use, all these like mechanism, what we use in XXL is different, right? So that's why, because we are the pioneers in the industry. When we started, there's no plus size brand, right? So that was the hardest point in 2010, right? But now we are like 2023, right? But as they both explained, like it wasn't easy for like entrepreneurs to survive like last few years, right? So, but I have to say, like whatever said and done, like I'm very proud of my team, right? With all these, things what has happened, they managed to somehow perform well. But as a leader, like especially in fashion industry and retail, I believe like you have to have a clear vision and communication, and also team building is important, and you have to delegate and empower them if you need to perform well in business.
Perfect. So basically, attitudes should be attuned.
Yes.
Mr. Cader, tell us about a systematic approach to build a systematic capability to enhance business when it comes to skills that would make global entrepreneurs where they can implement the metrics of innovation.
Okay. So we you say systemic approach, I'll try and break it up into management and maybe a little bit on technology. So from a systematic approach, I don't know if this is relevant to your question, but I'm just going to go with it if you don't mind. In terms of setting structures from a management style, in terms of, I think, having a more structured, well-structured approach, helps you with the whole process of decision making, transparency, which I think helps you eventually make a better decision, a better structured team decision. If you look at it from a technological approach, definitely, like I said, in terms of systems, I think overall have helped us run our operations better. It has definitely helped us give us a lot more data in terms of in order to make better decisions. Like, just to go back to what Nadeem said in terms of efficiency and things like that. So I think overall, I mean, a structured approach is definitely the way to go, and a constant adaptation of how we use these structures and develop on that will definitely help us move on.
And depending on the situations
Yeah.
and maybe new innovative projects,
100%. So
it keeps
adaptability
rotating.
is a must. Adaptability is a must, but having a basic structure even when you are adapting is good, because at least you have a little guideline of how you want to go and how a process, how a decision should be done, how a decision should be made rather. So I think overall a structured approach is better, and I think
it's a healthy approach.
it's a healthy approch. Even from, like I said, even from a management perspective, it promotes transparency. It keeps a team. There's a check and balance, if you don't mind, if I may say so. So yeah, I think that structured approach is the way to do it.
So Rajabdeen, when it comes to entrepreneurs, they certainly play a role in any economy, especially during times of turbulence when faced in a nation. What sort of strategies should be in place when it comes to accelerating financial gains?
Time of turbulence. No
Do
matter,
you have any experience?
yes,
You have sufficient.
no matter how much we could try to accelerate financial gains during turbulence, it's almost a zero luck situation, right? So especially as a startup company, when you don't have the time to take off. Now, obviously, established companies have their reserves and have basically planned for a day like this. As a startup, we have no plan, and that's where I suppose for us, we have both ends of the coin, and we are very lucky to have a diversified board. I'm a huge advocate of having to have somebody outside of the fishbowl, whilst we are inside the fishbowl navigating the best way we can. There are also ideas from people from different industries sitting on the board who give us some level of their strategies on how they handle their industries. Whether it's going to be applicable to us or not, we don't know.
Immaterial.
Yeah, and I don't really have any such in turbulence for us to do financial to accelerate that. There is no real income as such. I'm typically going into COVID. Even if you take the Araga layer and if you take curfew situations, lack of work to reach from A point to A to point B, these are all situations where zero footfall means zero cash flow. Now, we are in an industry, yes, we can deliver food. You can't come to us, we can say that. But again, we specialize in essentially starting our food courts in malls, which is designed to drive footfall in. Standalone restaurants deliver food to their doorstep. We didn't really have a strategy of that. It's not the most easiest process to have riders coming into a mall and collect food and going out, and we are designed to be able to quick turnaround of food inside the mall. But we had to innovate and see how we can come up with it. Another one I can tell you is in times of COVID, we would sit and brainstorm on how we can increase cash flow. We would supply food to be sold inside supermarkets. We would work with Spa, where we would actually package dining meals which people could pick up from the supermarket even if they couldn't go into a restaurant, because you could buy that online. So I wouldn't say there's any set mind in terms of to accelerate financial inflow. If we had reserves, yes, we could have really definitely been able to work around how we can ensure that we keep that money. input and keep the company going.
Certainly. Adhisha, entrepreneurs as business founders should be extremely skillful in making that swift change, considering a sustainable transformation to meet unprecedented enterprise declines. Please do share your experience with regard to the same.
Well, yes. Again, I have to talk about during the pandemic, the situation what we had at Double XL. Because Double XL, where we sell plus size clothing, so we managed to have like 3 outlets, like physical outlets in Sri Lanka. But we had to close down one because during the pandemic and also the couple of the crucial time we had in Sri Lanka. But again, as a founder, I always believe like my customers would like to come to the shop and they like to wear their clothes and they like to try their the fit right and they buy. So then I'm a person who believe like you have to come and touch the product.
Fabric and so on.
Yeah, exactly, right. But there are like 2 other partners, like they were like, Adhisha, we need like digital transformation very soon, right? Because this is like how you change. But being a founder, sometimes you're a bit stubborn, right? And you have like different attachment to your brand. Like sometimes you don't listen. That's how That's why we are amazing, right? That's what I believe. So yeah, right. Right. So and then. Yeah, and then what happened was like during the pandemic, so I never had any conversation about this online platforms. We had our website, but during the pandemic, it was so tough, like because then the curfews and then the lockdowns, so customers couldn't come. So my other partners like sent a message and said, Adhisha, so they can't come. So what is happening with your physical store now, right? So you have to come up with an idea. Let's do a brainstorming session. I said, yeah, we'll do. So one of the teams, they came up with amazing idea, because even though like we had like our website, we didn't get not even 10% because plus size people don't buy fashion, they buy their size, right? So that is their requirement, and also that is what we cater. So so then I argue with them. I said like no, like but very peacefully. But I told them like this is what they want, right? So how can we at least give 75% what they want, And then they said no, let's revamp our website. I said no, it doesn't make any difference, right? And then luckily we came up with this idea called virtual shopping, first time in Sri Lanka, where we give customers an appointment and we give like video calls, 10 video calls per day, right? And then we assist them individually. We take them like inside the store and then we use a mannequin according to their size, and we show them like this is your size and this is how when you wear it, like it looks like. So it doesn't, it's not like you're giving them 100% reasons to buy that, but at least it's close to 75, right? So then I thought, oh, that's an amazing idea. Let's pick that, right? And then we introduced that virtual shopping platform. Yeah. And then I'm happy to say we use that model for like to reach out our customers in like, other countries, because this is where you get very personalized service. Right, so this is, I didn't believe that, because I'm not very, I believe digital is fun and it's good, right? But when it comes to certain things, in business, it's not everything, because we like to go to like, with our, partner or like our family, like, and do like our shopping. So that's what we like, right? So I always like my customers to come, like, because we have a beautiful store, like come and dance and just buy what you like, right? And be happy and joyful, right, inside the store. So even with their, like, the VS calls, like they get very attached to the brand. And then because we talk a lot of values, right? And we come up with a lot of values as a brand. So because we made a very strong statement back then. So that's actually a very strong approach we did during the pandemic, and it's still like helping us, because during the pandemic, Sabrina, I think 4-5 days I went to the shop and I delivered products, and I drove to customers' houses, because I actually got stuck, and I didn't know like what to do, right? Because I'm very passionate, and I know like, I wanted to do it, but then again, like sometimes you can't control, right, things. So this is the approach we did, and this is how we adapted. Yeah.
It was not just a sales call, it was beyond.
Yes.
It's very clearly noticed that entrepreneurs is all about great humans with a great sense of navigation, which happens to be the key towards success. I sincerely thank Adhisha Dahanayake for connecting with Talking Point today, as well as Mr. Nadeem Rajabdeen and Mr. Naveed Cader. Thank you so much for connecting with Talking Point.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks very much.